Hey there, welcome back to a brand new reaction video. My name is Musa Jalloh, and in today's video, I'm going to be reacting to a video by Vox, and the video is entitled, Why South Africa is Still So Segregated. So with no further delay, let's get into the reaction.
This strip in Cape Town, South Africa, divides the beachside community of Strand from the township of...
Wow, Strand, it actually means like beach in Norwegian. And I'm guessing it would mean like the same thing in Dutch. Like, I don't know, but Strand, it means beach in Norwegian.
Nomzamo. They're only a few meters apart, but the people on each side live very different lives. Strand has backyards and driveways. Nomzamo is much more dense, and the people here have fewer basic services. Less piped water, less internet access.
That's crazy though.
And Nomzamo is majority black, while the area across the line is majority white. If we use dots on a map to represent race, you can see how stark that divide is. If we zoom out to the whole city, we can see it's actually everywhere. And this is the case across much of South Africa. The color of your skin here often determines where you live. It also determines your quality of life. This map shows where jobs and opportunities are.
Seeing this data is really so helpful for me because most of the video I've been seeing when it comes to segregation in South Africa is mainly about Cape Town. But seeing this map just now, it proved to me it didn't prove to me, but it showed me this segregation thing is not just in Cape Town, it's almost all over South Africa, which is really so sick. I was kind of hoping it was just just in the major cities, not everywhere, but it looked like it's everywhere.
Are primarily concentrated in Cape Town. And this is where most of the city's black people live, in informal settlements called townships on the city's periphery.
People have to move by public transport for up to 3 hours a day, and they can't take care of their obligations in the community with the rest of the family because they're always working and they're always traveling.
For decades, South Africa was under apartheid, a system that wrote segregation into law. A white minority controlled where non-white people could live, work, exist. Many were forced out of their homes. In 1994, a democratically elected government took power and ended apartheid. It was supposed to be a new beginning. But a lot of the country still looks like this. And that's because South Africa's legacy of racial division goes back centuries.
But I wonder, today, right? Is there anything in place? Is there anything the government is doing to try to solve this problem? Or are they just hoping things is gonna get better automatically by itself? Because question is there much being done to solve this problem, or is it just being oh, you know what? It is what it is.
In the 1600s, the Dutch took over the southern tip of Africa to supply ships with food along the trade route to Asia. 150 years later, Britain seized it and named it Cape Colony. Many Dutch colonists moved here, further inland, to escape British rule and continue exploiting enslaved people. Just like the Dutch, the British used Cape Colony as a strategic location for trade. It wasn't economically significant. But in the 1870s, that changed when the British started mining diamonds there. Suddenly, Cape Colony was one of Britain's most prized and exploited colonies. In order to get the diamonds out of the country, they built railways to connect the mines up here to the coast. The railways allowed the British to access a global diamond market through the port city of Cape Town. Soon, the economy of Cape Colony was centered around the railroads, especially this main route. The green areas on this map show the black regions of Cape Colony, largely left out of the railroad economy.
This is so crazy, the development of the infrastructure in the country, it was literally ignored where the black people were living, So imagine if all the country was gonna be well connected like this,
Economy. Racial inequality in Cape Colony was being reinforced by location. To keep it that way, the colonial government started writing segregation into law. The Native Lands Act of 1913 pushed black people into these areas, only 8% of South Africa's land. and restricted them from owning land everywhere else, or relocated them to the edges of the major cities to work for white people. These laws began to shape the region. Cape Town's growth from the increased trade turned the port town into a major city. Many migrants from the rest of the colony and elsewhere moved here, to what was then the outskirts of Cape Town, where former enslaved people, merchants, artists, and immigrants were forming a neighborhood called District 6. As the city grew around District 6, so did the neighborhood. For decades, District 6 was a thriving, integrated community.
We were a very cosmopolitan, you could say, family almost, because there were people from all different nationalities, from all different walks of life.
This was the statement, your child is my child.
But
Yeah, I feel like this is how people supposed to live. Like, if you all have this mentality, like, oh, even though we are all different, but we live in this place together, but like, so we're gonna like support each other. Like they literally say, like, your child is my child. Like most African countries, they have the sayings that says, like it take a village to raise a child. So like, if you all have that mentality and you live together like this, it make life a bit easier for everybody. Like I don't know, like I don't get it, but like, how can you just be like, oh, you know what? I think I want to be better than these other people, like it's so crazy, man.
it wouldn't last. In 1934, Britain's legal hold in what was now the Union of South Africa officially ended. The remaining white minority, the descendants of Dutch colonists, took control, and they built on the foundation the British were leaving behind. Between 1949 and 1971, the all-white government passed 148 laws solidifying apartheid.
Apartheid allowed for the full realization of the ambition of the fascist project in South Africa.
In 1950, the Population Registration Act officially classified people by race: white, colored, and native or black, and eventually Asian. Then they made laws saying where people could live. Around the country, black South Africans were moved into these areas, called homelands or Bantustans. Bantustans were rural areas and had underdeveloped economies.
Wow.
Many of them were in the areas Britain had already excluded from the railway economy, and where black land ownership had been restricted too. Black people were forced to carry passbooks that specified where they were allowed to work or travel to.
But imagine like the Swedish, they go to England, you'd be like, not England, you guys, like the whole UK, you only allowed to like stay in like Wales, but in Wales, you cannot own land in Wales, you can only like rent, for example, like my point is like they're not gonna stand for it, but like the part that make me angry of like the Africans also, like why would they stand for things like this, but also I understand like maybe like the British or like the Africans, maybe they had like better technologies than them, so that's why like they couldn't win the war even though they had like higher numbers, but those people had like better technologies, so like maybe that's why it was like a fight that couldn't be won, but
In cities like Cape Town, the Group Areas Act moved the remaining non-whites into separate urban areas.
The most prime land and the land closest to high valued property was allocated to white people.
In 1966, the government declared that District 6 was now a whites-only area. The residents of District 6 received removal letters like this one that said living there was illegal because they were not white. Bulldozers drove into District 6 and razed it to the ground.
wow.
We lived here. We had a life here.
It was very traumatic for a lot of people.
It was really traumatic, because I'm guessing like the District 6, they say it was like like a really good neighborhood, like close to like the main downtown, so like all those people who own property, that would have been like the start of them building like generational wealth, but then you just leave all that, you break it to the ground, and then you like go somewhere that is like not value, like that's crazy, man.
It's like ripping out someone's heart.
more than 60,000 people were forcibly removed from their homes. This kind of violence against non-white people was commonplace around the country. But after decades of pressure, both from within South Africa and abroad, apartheid rule finally came to an end. The new government lifted restrictions on where people could live. Millions of people who had been excluded from economic development for centuries migrated to major cities looking for basic services and economic opportunity.
For any family with no prospect of employment, the most rational, logical choice to make is to migrate to an urban center.
They settled where there was empty land, creating townships on the peripheries of major cities, like Cape Town. The government built millions of homes and expanded clean water and electricity.
But it had a number of unforeseen consequences, the most important of which is that the only land that could be used for the public housing program was on the periphery of the city. And for that reason, a brilliant intention to overcome the apartheid legacy unintentionally reproduced the very same legacy it was trying to undo.
That is like so crazy though. That is like so crazy, Like imagine you trying to solve the problem, but you don't do your research properly. You don't like really look into the situation properly. You don't like look at all the other outcomes of your plan, and then you just like go ahead of your plan, and then like it leads to the problem that you was trying to evitate. That is like mind blowing for me.
Today, 60% of the mostly black population of Cape Town lives in these townships at the edge of the city. The thing is, Cape Town city center has land to develop, but because of its location, it's valuable. So it usually gets sold to private developers who build luxury apartments. Nearly $1 billion worth of them are going up by the coast.
Wow.
But right in the heart of Cape Town, by all the expensive developments, District 6 remains largely untouched. The former residents have fought against private development, and they've actually succeeded. Some have even managed to return to houses built by the city.
I wanted to come back here where I was born, which was part of our family's heritage.
I couldn't believe that I was back. It was a sense of relief.
This is like so amazing though. Like some people who like got their property broken down was able to come back and still get it. Like this is like really, really, really so good. Like I know like it didn't happen for everybody, but still, man, like the few people who get back to the property, imagine like the peace of mind, like the closure, Like I don't know, like injustice is really not fair, man. Like this, like I don't know, it's really so sad.
But there are still hundreds of claimants waiting to get back to District 6.
We haven't done the difficult and the painful work to confront what the intergenerational consequences are of colonialism, of apartheid.
The story of Cape Town and South Africa's racial segregation starts far in the past, but it's very much entangled with the present. Apartheid and colonialism here are over, but many of the barriers they built have yet to be dismantled.
Yes.
The kind of
And I feel like the country overall, like West South African, Black South Africans, like color, Asian, whatever you are, I feel like if everybody succeed, if the living standard of everybody increase, the whole country is gonna benefit from it, Because imagine like those people would develop like the luxury apartment, If like the black people start having money to afford that, who are they gonna buy apartment from, They're gonna be the same people, But then like imagine the same like people would develop in the apartment, for example, If the new workers, if the black people have good education, who are they gonna employ? It's gonna be the same black people, So like like the whole country will go forward. Like America is a really good example, right? America, I think like they gained independence like I don't know 250 years ago, but I think slavery was abolished like really long time ago. I don't really remember when, but still up to now, like black people in the U.S. they still like going through like stuff like this, So like in a way, it's like it's still bad, Like it's like really really still bad, But like my point is like at least like South Africa is like taking the right step in the right direction, Because like apartheid did it in a long time ago in like 1994, That's like not long ago, if you look at the grand scheme of things,
Psychic scars that's left on individuals and on communities, we haven't begun the work of saying, how do we live together, right? In the face of that history.
Man, like, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope and pray things are better in South Africa, because like I always keep saying, like, this country have a lot of potential, like South Africa. Like, when I think about the potential of South Africa, I'm not even thinking about African countries, I'm thinking like South Africa have the potential to like compete with most other European countries, like, trust me, like most other Asian country, like, see a country like Singapore, like, what is stopping South Africa from being like the next Singapore, for example, or what is stopping South Africa from being the next China, I feel like the country have so much potential, but I feel like also, like, we just need to like try, keep talking about the situation, things that need to change should be changed, because like the more people talk about things, especially the young people, the more we talk about things, the more things are gonna change, but if we all just sit down and like try to ignore the problem, I don't think it's gonna help to benefit anybody. But thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, remember to like it, comment down below. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.